heavy attention.
It's well put. It doesn't abolish Texas Parks and Wildlife. It simply moves the parts and pieces that, yeah, it'll benefit anybody that uses water or uses the waters from Lake Waco.
But is this something that you would be in favor of?
100%. We've been able to move the needle. We've been able to build a lot of relationships. We've been able to get a lot of things done.
Hey folks, welcome here to Mic Check with Micah. This might be a shorter episode, just because both of us are busy people in the guests today. But it's been a while since I did the Mic Check. But I want to welcome back District 56 Representative Pat Curry, who covers half of McLennan County. First of all, thank you so much for joining us. There's a lot happening at the state capitol, so I want to get a legislative update. Let's see first. We're going to talk about the Central Texas Water Alliance bill. I don't want to say it, but I think it's 1416. I'm not sure, but talk about that bill. We've talked about it on TV and talked about what it would do, because when I interviewed you, you said that's something that you wanted to improve is the water.
Correct. That's what got me into the race, Micah, was the water situation in Waco. And I made the pledge that I was going to protect our water. And I have done nothing but work to do that since day one of winning the primary, actually. And so it ultimately came down to working out a proposal or a workout, if you will, between the dairy farmers and the city of Waco, and trying to get it to where it's an agreed upon process, like it was designed to be. And so this bill actually just helps it by putting a tax credit in, giving the dairy farmers the incentive to take their manure out of the wastewater shed area, the watershed area up on the North Bosque River in their area where it drains into our lake. And so it's an incentive program. They supported it. We supported it. The city of Waco supported it. And it got a lot of good conversations on the table. And it was a olive branch that I think was the right one to put forth.
And then this is a thing that you came with other Central Texas lawmakers to work on, for both the Senate and the House. And I mean, at first it's going to start benefiting Bell and McLennan counties, correct?
Yeah, it'll benefit anybody that uses water or uses the waters from Lake Waco or a backup to Lake Waco, or a backup using Lake Waco as their water source. So yeah, the whole of Central Texas will be better because of this. And again, we're going to keep fighting for our water, and we always will. It's just my thing, and I'll protect our water to the hilt. And protecting water in the whole state of Texas is a big deal too. I mean, so this is not just a Waco water fight. This ends up being a statewide. Oh my gosh, we've got millions and millions of people moving into the state, and we need to make sure we have the water sources, the electrical sources, and all of the infrastructure to be able to support this. It's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. I do want to point out, I believe as of May 6th, it was sent to the governor's desk, and we're hoping that he signs the bill. So that is amazing by the time this airs. We hope that he will sign the bill, but that is a step forward and something that all the lawmakers, including you, said that you wanted to do this, and it seems like it's getting accomplished. Something else I want to talk about that we got accomplished: the governor's top priority, Senate Bill 2. I don't remember the date, but on Saturday we watched it being signed into law. That is something that you said, of course, you would vote for, and that is the school choice bill, which allows the education savings accounts. For those of you who don't know, tell us. I assume you're pleased that passed, and that is now going to go into effect next school year.
Correct. That will not go into effect. I don't believe until a year from now. So school choice doesn't go into effect until it's a whole nother year. So I believe it's the school year of 2026. You got to give the schools time to put their programs together, and if they need to make adjustments, make adjustments. But it's yeah, we're proud of that. I mean, we're certainly proud of it. We know the results will be good. I mean, despite all the rhetoric, there were some changes to it, some guardrails put in, a lot of the things that I was looking for in it, and the details. The devil's always in the details of those things. But I have to tell you that, it really is a test, Micah, and it's 100,000 students out of 6 million. right? I mean, and it's $1 billion, yes, but $1 billion on a $335 billion contract, or $335 billion budget is just it's a test worth doing, because you want to make sure that your children are educated, and you want to make sure that you're not bound where you have to go to school because of where you live. You're not bound to where you have to go to school, but to college because of where you live, or trade school or TSTC or anything like that. So it just, having the parents have choice is a big deal here. Now, I will add, we passed a bill on the House floor the other day that the Democrat, Harold Dutton, brought, and there was quite a bit of controversy about it for some reason, and I totally disagreed with the people that were arguing about it, because he made it basically put in a tutoring program, $300 million tutoring program for children in K through third grades. And because our reading levels are so low and so far below below standard in grade level reading, in like 30% of where they should be statewide. And he made a strong statement, and I 100% voted with him on this, because you have, in those grades, you're learning how to read. And once you get past third grade, you have to read to be able to learn. And so that is so important through third grade, to know how to read and digest the information that you're doing, you're reading. And so it's things like that. It's the teacher bill of rights that passed. It's the whole package of bills. You know, the budget passed in the House. Now it's being negotiated with the Senate. That takes time. You know, I mean, that's a $97 billion budget. That doesn't just happen overnight. Everybody's complaining, how come it's not already done? Well, because a $97 billion budget takes time. All the budgets take time.
I know we got a few minutes left, but I asked Representative Brad Buckley the same thing that I want to ask you the same thing. Instead of creating, I know we invested in House Bill 3, which is for public education, and that's still moving through the legislature. But why create a different system, spending $1 billion in taxpayer money, than just improving the public school system?
Competition. Public schools don't have the competition because the students have to go there. And honestly, I think the schools have become, several of the school districts have become complacent. And once again, I think you're going to see that the program seems to be slanted pretty heavily towards SPED students. You get a big bonus for SPED students, and I think you're going to see schools pop up that are really designed to help the special ed students, special needs. And it's just a big, I think a high percentage of the money is going to end up in one of those programs, and actually let them be educated while you pull them out of the classroom to do that. So I think that's important.
And now I want to talk about Texas House Bill 4938. It was authored by you. And excuse my memory, I just got finished anchoring the show, so I didn't get to do too much research. But I know that was the bill to abolish. I'm gonna let you tell it. I want to say abolish Texas
Parks and Wildlife.
Okay, yeah. To tell us about why you filed the bill, and then what you ended up doing, because that got some heavy attention.
That's well put. Yes, it did. First off, I mean, I think it's mistitled. It doesn't abolish Texas Parks and Wildlife. It simply moves the parts and pieces. That bill would move the parts and pieces to elected officials. My concern with Parks and Wildlife is, and so it wouldn't eliminate any parks, and it wouldn't eliminate game wardens, and it wouldn't change any of the laws or things like that. What it would do is simply say, look, if you're an agency with a bunch of commissioners and they're making law with their rules, they're out of control. They're leaning up against this thing called chronic wasting disease, which really they haven't proven anything about in the state of Texas, to eliminate an entire industry of deer breeders and stomp on landowner rights. And they don't care. And they don't care what lawmakers think. And when we have month after month after month discussions with them and saying, hey guys, the commissioners, let's work on this. Let's work together on this. Let's put a study in place. Let's do this. Let's do that. And basically they thumb their nose at us. And so I said, guys, I'm going to thumb my nose back at you, and we're going to put a bill in that separates all you and eliminate your positions. What I was eliminating was the commissioner's positions. And that was not very popular for some reason, but I think the title hurt the cause more than anything.
We have about 2 minutes, by the way. I'm getting a mic check for our cut in on TV. But I do want to ask, freshman year, as a lawmaker, what are your biggest takeaways? And you can tell me in about 2 minutes. And I mean, how are you satisfied with this legislative session and the work that you've done to help Central Texas?
I think I'll tell you more on June 1st or 2nd as we're getting to the end. We've been able to move the needle. We've been able to build a lot of relationships. We've been able to get a lot of things done for McLennan County. We're still I'm not going to talk about any of those yet because the budget's got to be passed, and some of those things need to be in it. Mental health, as everybody knows, was also a major priority of mine, and supporting the mental health facilities and needs that we have in McLennan County. That's a big deal to me. So that's top of priority. And then also doing some other things to make sure that the roadways and things that we're looking for in McLennan County are the best we can have for the future. So it's been exciting. I'm getting the relationships built across that House floor. I know every person on the House floor, and I can stop and talk at every one of their desks with with a strong feeling of having a relationship. And so that's good. And now it's and working with the constituents back home. We solve constituents' problems constantly. So, and I can stay on, by the way, if you need to go do your other cut in. I got about 10 minutes.
Okay. I'm gonna pause real quick, pause the recording.
I'm gonna do the same thing.
So,
all right, welcome back. We just finished that live TV cut and doing multiple things, but it's cool. Okay, so back here with Representative Pat Perry, I want to ask you about Texas House Bill 3675. I don't believe you authored the bill. However, you did sponsor the bill, and it's about people with criminal history and their applications for employment. If you kind of break down what the bill is and then why you supported it.
Well, first and foremost, I mean, I'm a big believer in knowing who you're hiring and having background checks, especially for those employees of the state or of a political institution that the taxpayers are paying that directly affect our children and our young people. And so the goal here is whether it's a college or university or whoever it may be, if they're working in child welfare, if they're working in other areas, you need to know that somebody's not sneaking in there with a criminal history. And if they are, what did they do? And it's not that you won't hire them necessarily, but having a background check and knowing who you're dealing with, we'll spend a little bit of money to do it, but they've gotten a lot cheaper. And when you can do them online and you can do some things to quickly check into someone, and we just want to make sure that they're doing it. So I like the concept. I think it's a good idea. And I do it in my businesses, and I think it should be done in the business of the state.
All right, I think I have questions on just two more bills, but one of them is House Bill 413. So it says that it deals with the release of certain defendants detained in jail pending trial. So tell us again what this bill is and what are some of those certain offenses and why, again, is something that you sponsored.
Hold on just 1 second. Don't forget there's 5,000 bills, Micah.
Yeah, you all good.
And we're working literally 16, 18 hours a day. So it's kind of crazy.
I noticed that when I seen school choice in the House, and started at like 9 and didn't end until 2 a.m. I was like, oh gosh.
Yeah. So this actually touched me with a constituent. And honestly, if you have court systems that are backed up, you have DAs at times that just aren't doing their jobs, prosecutors that are not doing their jobs, judges that aren't moving cases through, and a defendant can be arrested on a crime, and whether no matter how serious it is, and they can end up being in jail waiting trial because they either couldn't afford to put the bond, or because it was either set too high or they just didn't have the money, or they weren't allowed to have bond for some reason. and they could be in the trial and waiting for trial longer than the sentence would have been had they been tried and sentenced to the max. Those are the cases where they don't need to be there. If you've done it, whether you've done the crime or not, and you've served the time, then you've served your time. And if it's a penalty that requires 2 years in prison, and you spend 2 years waiting to go to trial, you need to be released. If the maximum they can sentence you is for 2 years. So this applies to criminal cases. I got onto it because of a constituent. And Jolanda Jones is carrying the bill. And honestly, she's a criminal defense lawyer. She had several cases where this was the case in Harris County. And so we had a couple of cases that were brought to my attention. So I believe in doing that. Do the right thing for people. As long as it's not a serious, highly violent crime, and even then, if that's the case, the sentence would be much longer than a year or two.
All right, and I just want to give an update for people. I believe that bill is out of committee, so is going to the full House. It is on the calendar. I didn't check the date of when, but just want to give that for people to know kind of where these bills are. Another question, going back to school. There's been so many school bills, just beyond Senate Bill 2, which is the school choice one. There's been a bill, I can't recall it, but over a possible statewide cell phone ban. I want to get your thoughts on if this is something, I don't know if you already discussed it in the House or not. I need to follow it more, but is this something that you would be in favor of?
100%.
All right, tell us why.
Is that clear enough for you? Because I do believe, we see this in our businesses. I have a business in urban air and in Waco and other areas where we have to keep these kids from being on their cell phones while they're working. I mean, their jobs, their work. It's a lot of children, high school age children, that work for us in that business, and cell phones are a big distraction. And so these kids have their cell phones all day long. They're on social media. They're doing Twitter, and they're doing Snapchat. And they're doing all the different things, and they're not paying attention to learning how to read and reading to learn, and paying attention to what happens in the class. I think the cell phones and the connectivity are probably one of the single biggest problems of our education system today. And so banning them while you're in class and while you're in school is a good thing. If the parent needs to get in touch with the child, just like they have our entire lives, they can call the school, ask to speak to their child. This child can then go get them out of the classroom. Every classroom has a phone anyway. And their phones would be held in the classroom, I believe, the way the bill has turned out. I'm pretty sure it's passed the House floor, by the way. I know we voted on it, and we may have voted on a version of it, but I am for that ban.
And I want to kind of ask, you said that parents could reach out to schools. We had a situation, I mean, not in your district, but still in Central Texas. I'm sure you heard of it with Killeen ISD. That stabbing. We held a town hall here at Channel 6, and people were frustrated because they were not able to reach their kids in situations like that. Again, the district said that they're looking at ways to reevaluate it, and said that one school board member said that he's still in favor of it. But I mean, situations like that, is there any thing that you all are looking at as far as on a state level of trying to help out with that in emergency situations? Or
well, first off, let's just walk through. Now, I'm not going to talk about that specific example. I'm going to talk more in general terms about that. But let's just walk through it for a second. What should happen in that case, right? I need, if I'm the principal of that school, I have my security set up, I have everything going, and there's a stabbing or something that occurs. First thing I'm going to do is make sure that every student in that school that I can possibly secure is secured. And if that means they need to go hide in a corner and be extremely quiet, then so be it. I don't need their phones going off. I don't need them talking to somebody on the phone. I need them paying attention to the teacher that's giving them instruction. Do what I tell you to do, right? I'm trained to make sure that you stay safe. I don't need them freaking out. I don't need the parents calling, freaking them out. I'm trying to keep, if I'm the teacher, I'm trying to keep that situation calm and protect my children and make sure that they're safe. The parents need to understand that that's what we want them to do, right? I do not want, I wouldn't think about how you would feel if your child, if you were on the phone with your child and let's say an active shooter heard your child talking to you and your child got shot. You would feel horrible because you were on the phone with them when that happened, right? I mean, it can be, it can be a double-edged sword. So the fact is, in emergency situations, the police are on top of this. We're paying for school security. We've got armed security guards. We have lots of systems, and everybody's ready to pounce to deal with these situations. And we're just going to get better and better at protecting our students. And this is one of those, is to make sure that we don't have them running all over the place. And, you know, some mother calls in and she doesn't know what's going on, and she tells her child, just run, get out of the building. You know, just, and no matter what anybody tells you, run. That's probably the worst thing she could do. But it's a reaction by somebody who's not trained to deal with a situation like that. And that's what you worry about. So you need to put order into chaos. And part of that's they don't need to be all calling in. The other thing too, don't clutter up the phone lines and clutter up the system to where 300 or 400 or 500 cops, like in the case of Uvalde, couldn't communicate with each other at all, even with cell phones, right? I mean, that was a major problem from a communication standpoint. And then there were children that were shot in Uvalde because they were heard being on their phone. That shooter didn't know whether anybody was in that classroom or not until he overheard the conversations. So there's a lot going on there that goes deeper than what you may think, Micah.
Yeah, and I know, I mean, either way, that cell phone issue it's kind of divided, like a house divided on the cell phone issue. People for it, people against it. I know we got a little bit of time, but I want to ask about 10 Commandments. There was a bill about the 10 Commandments. You sponsored it. I've seen some other Central Texas representatives sponsored it. I mean, why is that? I guess why is that something that you support, and why do you feel that is necessary to have that in Texas schools and classrooms, especially when a lot of people say separate church and state?
Oh, well, I mean, we could go down the list, but what's wrong with you should not steal? What's wrong with you should not lie? What's wrong? It's the basics of human nature, no matter whether it came from the Bible or not, right? I mean, it's the basics of raising a child properly, is it not? Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. I mean, just go down the list of, honor thy father and mother. What's wrong with that? I'm sorry. We have the 10 Commandments in the Texas House, in the Capitol. We have the 10 Commandments right outside of the Capitol. We have the 10 Commandments and throughout our lives, and the 10 Commandments are pretty basic rules to follow to be a good person. Don't we want all of our children to be good people?